All right, everyone. Good evening and blessings to the Noble Triple Gem to all of you. So welcome to our bi-weekly sutra discussion with the venerable monks and nuns from North America. Let us begin our bi-weekly sutra discussion by paying respect and homage to the Buddha. So let us recite Namo Dasa 3 times together. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. I pay my respect and homage to him, the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened Buddha. All right, so we have come to the last month of the year, 2022. Today, December 5th. So it is a great joy to have all the venerable monks and nuns for this sutra discussion. Before we go to our discussion topic, I would like to welcome all the venerable monks and our lay people who are here on Zoom platform and also who are watching on Facebook and YouTube Live. So let me introduce our participating monks. So we have Venerable Pesalatero joining the discussion all the way from Sri Lanka. It's early morning for you at 4:30 a.m. So welcome. And then we have Venerable Saranapalatero joining from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And then we have Bhante Kamalasuri joining the discussion from Minnesota, USA. Then we have Venerable Digali Somavangsha joining from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And then we have Bhante Jinananda, BCC, not BBC, BCC. Bhante Jinananda, he is from Ottawa, Canada, but today he's joining the discussion from Washington, D.C. And then we have Venerable Kalubovila Ananda Thero joining from Cambridge, Ontario, Canada. And then we have Venerable Tridao joining from Florida, USA. Then we are very happy to have Bhante Kusala back in the Zoom discussion. You're from here, Toronto, but we missed you. For past discussions, you were on a Tudong practice with other venerables. And so welcome back. And then we have Bhante Sanat Vihari joining the discussion from Los Angeles, the Hollywood monk. And we have another Hollywood monk, Venerable Shanta Sobana, joining the discussion from Los Angeles, USA. And I think there is Bhante Sankicha, Great Lake Buddhist Vihara. I don't see you, but welcome. And we also have some lay devotees who joined the discussion. So I would like to welcome you, and also a warm welcome to our friends who are watching this discussion from on YouTube and Facebook Live. So I have a kind request from all the venerable monks and also the lay people. If it is possible, please share this discussion on your social media timelines for the greater benefit of your friends and colleagues. This is the best way to give the gift of Dhamma for the greater benefit of all the sentient beings. as Buddha said, the gift of Dhamma excels all other gifts. So please be mindful to share this program on your social media timelines. So today we have a different topic of the discussion. I put it 10 spiritually healthy reflections based on a sutra from the Anguttara Nikaya, and it is known as the Dasa abhiṇha sutta, and we also know that sutta as the Dasa Dhamma Sutta. As monks in the Theravada tradition, we have been reciting this sutta for a long time, and even now we monks do recite this sutta almost every day, or personally we reflect, or we as a group do the chanting of this sutta. So I would like to invite Bhante Kusala to give us the summary of this sutra, and later on, if anyone who would like to make a contribution, I mean, if you like to share your insights with a story, please raise your hand. And there's no order, but your wisdom, your insight, your words are very powerful and inspiring and motivating. So I would like all of you to share your experience of the 10 factors to be reflected by the monastics. Although specifically this is for the monastics, I believe it is also a healthy reflection for the lay people. And after listening to the Venerable monks, if our lay devotees would like to ask a question or present a question, I will take your question, and our monks are going to give an answer to your question. So, Venerable Bhante Kusala.
Thank you, Bhante. So, this is an amazing subject to discuss, especially after the end of practice I did for several weeks, traveling by foot, which Bhante Sarnapala mentioned as Tyudong practice. And this is these 10 reflections came to my mind several times of the day as we were on one meal a day, traveling from one city to another in the Sicily island in Italy. So we had an amazing time. And of course, I missed the discussions here because it was really little after midnight if I were to join. So I told you that I may not be able to be fully there, even if I tried to join because of the fatigue and all the cold and not having internet in some places. And in the email, you mentioned that this is called Pabbajita-abhiṇha because abhiṇha is repeatedly mentioned in this sutta. Abhiṇha means often, many times, many times. So Pabbajita is someone who is a monk who has gone forth. So a monk reflects on these things, these 10 things all the time. So that that specification that this is a monk thing is something that kind of tells us, is there something for lay people also to reflect on? So you will find out once you learn these things. I'm sure some of these things are also not only should be reflected by monks, but also by lay people. And these are called Dasa dhammas, 10 dhammas, 10 factors, I would say, 10 reflections, 10 points of reflection, because these are 10 different things addressing your virtues, your practice, your goal, how different you are, and how yours, how you should be focused on your goal, ending with that goal. Even at the death, there is this question asked from you and how you should respond. So it's kind of a lifetime practice that we are talking about today. So this is very important that we unwrap sutras like these and have monks discuss them, and especially open this up for the community to learn from, and also inspire people to really consider, if this life as a monk is something that I would consider in my life. So I remember, regarding the first one, Vevaṇṇiyamhi ajjhūpagato'ti, Pabbajitena abhiṇhaṃ-paccavekkhitabbaṃ. So I have left the social order. I have become different. I am no longer the same person I used to be. I was named Ananda when I was a layperson, and now immediately after entering the order, we renounce that status, the name, and we are called differently. I will be given a different name, Kusalajnana, by my teachers. So, and then we shave off our head. And oftentimes I remember learning from my teachers, they say, when you want to do something wrong, touch your head and you will immediately remember that you are a different person, you are a monk. So that's an easy reminder for us that you are no longer the same person, you are different. So this is a reflection that we can often reflect on, that I'm no longer living according to worldly aims and values. That's the specific meaning of it. This should be reflected upon again and again by a monk. So the second one is Parapaṭibaddhā me jīvikā'ti. My very life is sustained through the gifts of others. I depend on others. It's not like you are going to use a credit card and buy things. It's just if you truly dedicate your life, you are supported by a lay community, and you live of that support and faith that you will be looked after. We often reflect on this as a reflection when you are virtuous, silena bhoga sampada, that you will receive whatever you need because of the power of your virtue. And that's how we are inspired, we are taught to teach by the Buddha, as we will be teaching the Dhamma, that is Adi Kalyanam, pure in the beginning. Starting from our own practice, we show the Dhamma, we show the practice that is pure in the beginning, and that inspires people to look after us. These monks need to be looked after by us. They teach us Dhamma, and it is our duty to look after them. So the next one is Añño ākappo karaṇīyo'ti. This is about how you think. Añño ākappo, you have a different attitude. You are kind of abandoning former habits that you have developed in your life. So sometimes, as a layperson, you have a habit of like any random time, you would go anywhere you want. And that may be something that you would abandon, and you would find a place where you can practice quietness and seclusion instead of going for entertainments all the time. That's a reminder. That's something that we need to reflect on all the time. So it depends on the individual, especially when you are a monk. You are kind of called a Sakya Putta. You are the son of a Sakyan, also a son of the Buddha. And all the monks have a similar conduct, similar behavior, similar thinking pattern. And it's easy to connect and understand each other through these ways of reflections and conducts that we develop over the time as a monk. And Kachinukome atta silato na upavadati. Does regret over my conduct arise in my mind? Which means, is there anyone telling me that I should correct something in my behavior, in terms of my conduct, in terms of my sila? That you need to reflect upon all the time, so that when you live with the community of monks, and if they see any slight error, they might, out of mudit, out of compassion, out of kindness, they will approach you and tell you that, would you really pay attention to this aspect of your practice, this aspect of your sila, this aspect of your conduct? And that way, as a community of monks, you all grow together to become something better of whatever you already are. And the next one is sabbehi me piehi manapehi nana bhavo vina bhavoti. All that is mine, all that is dear to me, all that is pleasing to me will become otherwise. You no longer associate the same things with that same link, same connection you used to have. Vina bhava, they are different. So your son, your wife, whoever you had as the dearest in your life, are no longer weighing on you. They are not your responsibility. When you have done with your lay life's responsibilities as a monk, you don't have to think about them, and you don't have to worry about them in your meditation. And the next one is about karma. Kammassa komhi kamma dayado, kamma yoni, kamma bandhu, kamma patisarma. So this is something that we oftentimes teach to everyone, especially including children. I am the owner of my karma, heir to my karma, born of my karma, related to my karma, abide supported by my karma. Whatever karma I shall do, for good or for ill, of what I will be the heir. You will own what you are doing. You will own your thinking. So this is something that we reflect upon all the time. And katham bhutassa me ratting diva viti patantiti. Pabbajitena abhiṇhaṃ paccavekkhitabbā. How do I spend my days? What am I becoming eventually? The days and nights are relentlessly passing. How well am I spending my time? This is something that we reflect on all the time. The next one is kachinukohaṃ suññāgāre abhiramāmīti. Do I delight in solitude or not? This is something that we need to reflect upon all the time. Am I spending too much time talking? Am I spending too much time socializing? Or am I spending time in solitude, reflecting on Dhamma, reflecting on Vipassana, insight, and different insights arise, and you reflect on them alone. And the Buddha encourages us all the time that, either talk in Dhamma or stay in silence. If you don't have anyone to associate, be a good person to yourself, go alone, and you will be fine. You have the Dhamma to reflect on. And then the last one, attinukome uttari manussa dhamma alamariya jnana dasana viseso adhigato sohang pachime kale sabrahmacharihi puttho na manku bhavissāmīti pabbajitena abhiṇhaṃ paccavekkhitabbā. So has my practice borne fruit with freedom or insight, so that at the end of my life, I need not feel ashamed when questioned by my spiritual companions. They will ask, have you attained something in your life as a monk? So when they ask this question, you can reveal it. You will truly not feel embarrassed, ashamed when you are not able to answer this question. This is something that monks can reflect upon all the time. So this is about starting from your the day one of entry to the order until the last day of your life as a monk. So you reflect on these 10 things all the time. I guess that gives enough of an introduction for this discussion. And I'm sure all the Sangha members here will contribute to different aspects of these 10 reflections, and I really look forward to listening to them. Thank you, Bhante.
Yeah, thank you, Bhante Kusala. You have beautifully given the brief introduction to that powerful discourse, the 10 reflections. And of course, the first one begins with, we are different from others. I have to keep this in mind. And of course, I think it's so visible for us. Maybe when we go to an event, when we even travel in the airports, or subway stations, bus stations, when we walk on the street, I'm pretty sure even when you went for this Tudong in Italy with the Venerable Sudaso, Ayya Soma, and Ayya Brahmavara from England, I'm pretty sure you made a huge awareness on that road trip in this Tudong. People have never seen monks and nuns like that walking on the street and sleeping by the road on the mountains and camping up there, and then standing in front of a house, in front of a restaurant or shop for food. And this is a practice people have never done before. And this could be a strange, maybe an alien practice for majority of the people. So even when I came to this country in early 90s, of course, going out as a monk was a huge challenge for us. People have never seen, and people would honk and people would scream. Of course, we are different. So I think my question to all of you, what are the spiritual benefits of these 10 reflections to be done by the monks daily? And what are the spiritual benefits? And how could it help us to spiritually grow? These are some general questions I would like to put to all of you. And I know that Venerable Kalubovila Ananda Thero and Bhante Sanata Vihari, you got ordination after spending your time as lay people, young men. Being monks could be challenging for you. And also, I know, Bhante Sanata Vihari, you traveled to Mexico or some other Latin American countries. When you walk or travel to those countries as a different person, you're not traveling there as a Latin American young man, but you're traveling there as a Latin American young Buddhist monk. And how does it affect you? And what is your experience with that? Like, you're looking different.
First and foremost, Vandana Bhante, and to all the other Bhantes. Luckily enough, I've gotten a better reception in Latin America and Spain than in the United States, actually. So I guess Catholicism lends itself more to this kind of practice than a Protestant practice or a Protestant environment. So when I've been in Mexico and in Spain walking around, people are very curious, young people, older people, mostly older ladies. It's like mostly older ladies who are more interested in what's going on. But it's always been a very interesting. People come up to me and they ask me, like, why did you do it? You're so young, or, you have your whole life ahead of you. Why didn't you want to get married? Or they say, what was wrong? What happened to you? Did some tragedy happen? That's why you became a monk? People always think something bad happened. But no, so most of the people, Bhante, have been very nice. In the United States is where people honk and say things and scream obscenities. So actually, in the United States, it's more difficult walking around as a monk than Mexico or Spain.
Venerable Ananda, now what is your observation? What is your experience? Like you have lived the both life, and after becoming a monk, you like all this. Of course, we are looking different. We had to think different. And what are these spiritual benefits or personal benefits of these kind of reflections?
I think, first of all, respectful greetings to all the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis and everyone. I think, Bhante, this is a fantastic sutra, that's Dhammā Sutra.
Yeah.
If I relate it to my whole life, I used to do some sports, like serious sports back in the day. So when you do something like that, your coach or your team captain would always give you a reminder this morning, think that this week is the game week or this month is the game month. So I think even for a lay practitioner of anything who's taking something seriously, this type of continuous reminder gives you that psychological preparedness. Mm-hmm. And I remember very well my ex-wife used to do that a lot. She always used to say, don't forget that you have a family. So she used to continuously give that reminder. And when we get ordained, the first thing we see is that Sabbadukka Nisarana Nibbana Satchikaranattai Imam Kasavan Gahitva. So that's our primary objective. We do it for nothing but to find the ultimate enlightenment. And I think Dasa Dhamma Sutra is it's a fantastic reminder for you to give you that this framework so that you are always intact, in the correct path. These horses, they wear this thing on their head. I don't know the name for that. So they could only see the path, so they don't get derailed or off track. They wear this thing on their head, so they can't see the two sides. They get focused. But that horse thing gives us the tunnel vision. But this 10 Dasadhamma offers is not a tunnel vision thing. If we go to I've been thinking Dasadhamma Sutra. So, for example, we leave the entire identity. And I remember one of the best experiences of my becoming a monk, of ordaining. I was initially given a name called Kottita. So I'm a young boy now and about to get ordained. Before I got ordained, the senior monks, they suggest, why don't we call this new monk Kottita? So I thought that my name is going to be Kottita. And then I renounced all my attachment to my previous world. I deleted all the photos on my phone, my computer. I was into wildlife photography, so I deleted a lot of raw, very nice-looking wildlife photos. So everything is handed over. There's nothing. I have this white shirt and the white sarong, and now I'm a monk, and I have to even let my previous name go. So then I was thinking I'm going to be called Kottita hereafter. So my ordainment was at 6 o'clock, and 6 o'clock the head monk came and he said, the Kottita seems very complicated. Why don't we call him some other name? So there was a brief period of moment where I did not have any name in existence. That was like a fantastic, very, very reflective. It gave me such an epiphany that, your identity can be stripped off and you are nothing. So then eventually head monk said, Ananda seems a nice name, so let's call him Ananda. So that was a fantastic experience of Vivaṇṇiyamhi. And then the next thing, I think, Añño me ākappo karaṇīyo. We say in that Buddhism that there are two types of thinking you could have, the Patisotagami stream or the Anusotagami stream, one that goes along the stream or the one goes upstream, which is completely different to what a normal person would think. And I think that's the fundamental of Buddhist philosophy, that we do not think the same way that a typical person would think. So I think that's a fantastic reminder, that it always gives us the reminder a typical person would give a lot of value to materialistic things, and he would react to his hatred and all that. But being a monk or being a sangha, even inside, it's more of a mental transformation of how you think. And it's a complete upstream sort of thinking. And then if you're going to further into like atta sīlato na upavadīti. So one way is that if I don't do anything which gives me, if I have to think that if I have broken a rule or so, that the best way is to abstain from that and not do anything like that. So in a simpler manner, we can think that I need to be in good behavior according to the code of conduct that a Buddhist monk have. But if we go further down, the more deeper meaning is that why do I need to break those rules? It's because that I have a stemming desire. So I think really going down deep inside, it's because of my desire to do these things that I do that. So simply not doing something or abstaining something is a good way. But I think Silabbata Paramasa is basically, if you think that your practice is going to be an abstinence path, that is not, you haven't still understood my Dhamma. That's what Buddha said. So going down deep, if we can go to the root cause and eradicate that root cause, I think that's a better meaning of Atta Silto Na Upavaditi. And the next one even, Piyehi Manapihi Nana Bhava Vina Bhavati. So the first thing is that there are things that you like and things that you desire, and rejecting them would be the easy thing. But again, if you go down, Sankappa Rago Purisassa Kamu, our likes and dislikes are very much conceptual. So if we understand the conceptual nature of our mind, what is desirous doesn't become desirous anymore. So in a very deeper manner, I think then the rest of it also, like Aranyagatoa, Shunyagaragatova, Alangariyana Dasanang, and always think, how can I become like a enlightened being? So that continuous reminder is, I think, a fantastic thing. Each these 10 points can be taken into such a profound and a deeper level, simply from just being an abstinence point or a reminder point. So I think in that way, as monks, we should have Dasa Dhamma Sutra on our desks and rooms all the time. It's such a fantastic sutra.
Yeah, I think Venerable Ananda, you have beautifully explained the significance of these reflections, and when we become mindful of these 10 things, I think the power of this reflection may be to pull us back to our own practice, the right direction. We have a goal, and so. And then it reminds you, oh my goodness, you're not a layperson anymore. You're a monk, you're a nun, and you have a purpose, you have an objective, you have a goal, and so you have to go into the right direction. So I think that's a beautiful practice, and it brings the inner transformation. I really love that phrase that you use, inner transformation. So we have Venerable Shantasobana, who raised his hand. He'd like to share some ideas, tell us even stories. And Venerable Shantasobana.
Thank you very much, all Venerable Sirs. And this is one of the most beautiful sutta today. And thank you for bringing this up. Actually, when it comes to the background of the sutra, we can see that why Buddha came with this kind of conditions for newcomers. Especially in the early Buddhism, there was not that kind of rules and regulations regarding the monks or the nuns or whoever practiced the Dhamma. But what happened when the Buddha's teaching became very popular, there were a lot of people came to the community of Sangha, and they were more kind of like separated from the Buddha himself. So then what happened when they came to the community of Sangha, rather than following the Buddha's teaching, most of them start to follow their own way of behavior, their life, and their tradition, their culture. They start to mix with the community of Sangha. So then this once the Buddha gave this kind of introduction, it was help them to hold into the path of community of the Sangha, and then it became a kind of like a guidelines for them. So one of the important thing is, when we hold it to this kind of teaching, it help us to develop the awareness, because when it comes to end of the day, the most the important thing in our life how we contribute and develop our awareness.
Mm.
So that is the end result of this all. So when it comes to this sutta, it always reminds us, it always helps us to, as you mentioned, that go back to our awareness and stay there and retreat from that all the other things. At the same time, as monks, when it comes to today life, and we have to interfere with the society and the culture, traditions, and many believing systems, the people, politicians, and society, they have their own way of lifestyle. So when we go into them, sometimes we are just only one person. The majority of them, they have more bigger group as a people. So sometimes when we blend with them, and it is very risk, because there are some people, or there are some traditions, cultures, they are like black hole. They can suck us towards them. So this help us to retreat. End of the day, it help us to come back to ourselves. So one of the important thing, how we in today, how we can apply it to our day-to-day life. Because when like in my personal life, I used to always be with a lot of young people in martial art classes. And every day, sometimes we go 1 week, 2 weeks of field trip and outdoor trainings. And I'm the only one monk stay with them. And what I see, and sometimes when there's opportunity come for us, and if we don't remember ourselves who we are, and we start to go towards the other side, and then maybe there is no U-turns in life. You know, so this sutta will always help us to remind that and understand and hold it to our roots. So, and end of the day, what happened is, and they appreciate it, and they start to come back towards us. So that's what happened. Recently in Los Angeles, there was a millionaire club, and one of my friends invited me to do the opening ceremony, and I went there. And then after that, the people, some of them came and asked, "Hey, you are a monk. What are you doing here?" So I thought, "Are you a millionaire?" I said, no, I'm not a millionaire. I'm a very poor monk. I just came to do the blessings. So, and then what happened is, after the ceremony, and a lot of millionaires came to me and told, "Can you pray for me? Can you pray for me?" So it's like, you know, that when it comes to our life, that we have opportunity to give example, and at the same time, it's kind of like we give opportunity for other people to come to this path. So we are because otherwise, if we don't give that example to them, and how they're going to learn this, and how the newcomers going to come to the community of Sangha, or how they're going to find this path. So in that way, that always what I saw in my life, when we have opportunity to go into society, it is a great opportunity for us to contribute the Dhamma. And we don't need to afraid for that. We don't need to afraid to blend with them. But at the same time, we have to understand that once we hold it to our positions, end of the day, they're all going to come back to us. So that is one thing. And how we can apply today life. Most of time when I go to these young students, I always tell, remember, maybe you have friends, and sometimes you start to do things because of the friends, but end of the day, you are responsible for your own life. You know, you are responsible for your own result. So then remember that. So then they start to understand that, and they recognize it. So they're the same principle. So like that, and most of the time, what I try to share with people, our greatest social security is our own character. You know, not something else. And another thing is, we always have to see ourselves like in another sutta gave one of the beautiful example, like how the young girl or the boy always look at the face in front of the mirror. So we have to reflect ourselves and see, end of the day, what we accumulated to ourselves. And the last one, in the sutta, it says that when in our deathbed, when other monks come and ask, is there any the high mental powers or spiritual powers that you accumulated? So that is one of the important point, because we have to contribute some kind of development from our own life to our newcomers. So otherwise, this life is just not to maintain properly to death. We have to gain some kind of qualities to ourselves. So we have to give an example to the newcomers. So what I see today, and the most of time when it comes to even ourselves and to the community and the parents, and sometimes they just maintain their own life and they find the security with the pension, but they don't see the deeper, the spiritual development. It doesn't matter monks or the lay person or the husband, wife or children. And if they don't gain some kind of a spiritual development, end of the day, their life going to be somehow unbalanced. So that is what most of time I always try to share with them, with this ancient way of lifestyle, and how to blend and how to give some kind of example and bring some good result to their life.
Yeah, I think I have seen the pictures you have posted, in this Millionaire Club blessing ceremony. You actually, Venerable Shanta Sobhan, you have brought up a very interesting point here. Like even during the time of the Buddha, people from all walks of life, all caste system, joined the Sangha. Maybe they were trying to follow their own agendas and derailing from the original practice. And that's why I think the Buddha reminded them, you're a monk and you have to keep these 10 things in your mind. I think it is also good for us as monks living in the West. And of course, there are a lot of distractions. And if we are not being mindful of these 10 reflections, we can easily get sucked into all these distractions around us. And so this reflection, I believe, is going to help us stay in the right track. And just in case if we derail, and it's going to help us to come back to our original practice. So thank you for bringing up that point. Now we have Bhante Sankicha from Detroit, Michigan, USA. He raised his hand. Bhante Sankicha, what's in your mind?
Thank you, Bhante, for the opportunity. It's been so nice. It's always been a great pleasure to listen to you all and share the Dhamma, this insight. Actually, when I look at this discourse, actually, when I hear all these Dhamma from these Bhantes, I can see, most of the time we learn different paths in the Dhamma, right? Most importantly, the primary path for us is the Noble Eightfold Path, right? So there are so many different discourses that give us different paths, actually. Not only one direction, one path to the enlightenment. This is one of those occasions, actually, for me. When I look at it, the question comes to my mind, what is missing in this discourse, right? Every value, every aspect of his spiritual life, related to the Buddhist great teachings is found in this discourse, without missing any aspect, actually. So in that case, I look at this discourse as full of spiritual values, spiritual assets. And most importantly, when someone wants to live a spiritual life, a meaningful life, I can consider these 10 conditions to be the the spiritual dynamics, how someone would maintain a spiritual life, when all these conditions are there, deep reflections are there. These can be wise reflections. So they are more than enough to guide one's life in the right direction, positive direction, and most importantly, to protect oneself. If you look at this each guideline, what people are experiencing in society today as negativities, stress and anxieties, depression, and all these things, what we can see in this discourse is that all of these problems, issues, negativities can be rooted in one of these issues, points that they don't reflect on, they don't care about, they don't pay enough attention to in their life. So therefore, I think controlling a lot of our negativities, stress and anxieties actually can be treated, controlled, and addressed directly if we pay enough attention to these considerations. So therefore, I think there are a lot of psychological values in this discourse that many people without any difference actually can be applied into their entire life. So I think each of these step considerations can be a huge Dhamma sermon actually. There are a lot to talk about, that much their value. I would take actually one step actually, that what would my heart eventually say about my behavior? If my own heart would complain me myself on my behavior, right? So this is a kind of taking our direct responsibility, for our behavior, our overall life experience, what we are going through, especially in terms of all these negativities that we may go through in our life. So this is one direct way of taking our responsibility. How would I guide myself in the right direction? Not to get caught up in all these negativities, negative situations, people, circumstances in life, So before we get into these problems, issues, I need to pay enough attention to my behavior. Am I living a life that causes these troubles, right? So most of the time people worry about them, try to do things when they get caught up in these things without taking enough responsibility, how they live, how they behave. So most of the time they do things that cause them all these troubles, right? So therefore, that's a very powerful advice, I think, for all of us to take that, learning how to take that direct responsibility over my behavior, to be free from negativities and unhappy conditions. So I think this discourse, therefore, can be a direct answers for all our everyday life problems. Yes. So
I think, Bhante Sankricha, you have brought up a lot of interesting points here. You have to take the responsibility for your own journey. You have a goal. And in fact, when we analyze into these social problems that people have, as you mentioned, depression, even anxieties, stress, even I think even there are monastics who also suffering from a lot of stress and falling into depression. Maybe because they forgot the the original practice and thinking of something beyond, and maybe they are doing ayoniso manasikara, unwise reflections. So these 10 reflections are part of the yoniso manasikara, the wise reflection, wise attention. And when we do ayoniso manasikara, and of course they are going to create a lot of problems for us. And if we do the yoniso manasikara, then we can enjoy a lot of the psychological benefits, like the health, safety, and happiness, peace of mind. So I think these are very interesting points you have brought up, and thank you. Next, Venerable Trudeau from Florida, USA. You raised your hand. So what's in your mind? Venerable Trudeau, unmute yourself.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
Salutations to all of the venerable and most venerables present today. So, reflections is a word that we use often and should use often in our life, with two things in mind. Number one, did I do the best I possibly could? And number two, is there any more I could have done with the time that I had, with the people that I was with, and the resources that is available to me? What I did not know after becoming a monk, and it was a nice quiet life before I started to play around with TikTok, and then of course the TikTok thing did its thing, and then I became, you know, kind of like Los Angeles type famous, you know, celebrity monk. As a result, that's a new term now, right? We have the urban Buddhist monk, and now we have Jidao, who is the celebrity. With all of the millennial generation Zoomers. What I did not know was that when this TikTok thing and Instagram and all of these things started blowing up, is that now my life was under examination from the whole world. The whole world now discovers who I am, who I was, you know, the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever you want to name it. And then my life is subject to the 8 worldly winds that the Buddha described, especially praise and blame.
Yeah.
Anyone of celebrity status is praise and blame all day. The students that I am leading now are Gen Zoomers, which poses a very difficult challenge because more attention is needed to give to them in order to inspire change. One has to be very skillful at working with Gen Zoomers because they are riddled with information that they don't know which is real, which is not real. Who should I listen to? Who is the wise? Who is a fool? Should I listen to my friends? I want to make a lot of money. The notifications on their phone is out of control. The amount of notifications that come in within a matter of just 1 minute. 1 minute. I've been following these guys all the time, glancing over, and I'm seeing all sorts of samples of their life. So it makes it a challenge for me to inspire them, but we are making progress. As for those who have ever examined my teachings and the way how I live my life as 99% a solo monk, a monk that doesn't really, after 5 years of apprenticeship, I really don't congregate much, and still ask my teacher, you know, to kind of stick around when I need assistance with the Dhamma. And as I try to inspire some of these young people out there, I would cite exactly what is here, though not in order, but I would ask them, and my assistant and students travel with me often. And I asked themselves, I said, do you see that my behavior is different than the rest of the world? Do you see that in regards to sila, do you see me breaking any of the silas here? I would constantly offer my life for direct examination and cross-examination. At any point in time, anyone can show up to a public talk of mine and directly examine me. Does Venerable Jidao, do you want something, and do you own anything? Of course, like the whole metric system of examining a life of a monk, because that's what people are looking for. People are looking for, why should we lay people look up to the monastic order? What is it that is so different about you monastics, which is us, comparable to lay people? Why are you worthy of veneration? Why are you worthy for us to bow to you? And so every time when I conduct myself in public or private or public, I've always taught that, I'm a junior monk, and everything I do needs to be consistent within the Vinaya. Everything I do is as if everyone here in today's discussion and panel is always watching me. So so every venerable that is here, I always pretend like you guys are just a couple feet away watching everything that I'm doing. Because joining the order, that I want to make Theravada better, not worse. And as we know, it's a constant challenge, especially with recently with the Thai monks in Thailand who tested positive for methamphetamine, just 4 of them, and the whole temple is now empty. So I was pressed, a caution not to get into worldly affairs, but some of us are in positions of leadership, and we have to speak up what needs to be spoken, and we have to address what needs to be addressed if it is duly deserved according to the teachings of the Buddha. And so these are very wonderful reflections, and it requires all, especially the lay people, to really look deeply within one sentence alone. What sort of person am I becoming? Are you happy with who you are? Are you happy with the choices that you are making today and in the foreseeable days to come? Because a good life equals a good death. And if you live life wisely, you can relive it again when you're older. And it is something that was uttered actually by the Dalai Lama. And sleeping with one eye open because you don't keep sila, and everything that we have pointed the way for all of you as monastics was so that you can progress spiritually, growth and development. So again, I just wanted to offer my contributions and remind everyone to look back at your practice and go through these 10 reflections. And I'm looking at them now on my screen. And some of these, if reflected right reflection, could take up a whole week for you to take notes and realize where we could make improvements starting after this talk. Improvements after tomorrow.
Yeah.
In regards to the distinctions in knowledge and vision of worthy and spiritual companions, again, that's something that one would really want to ask: where have I been? Where am I at? Where do I want to go? And who do I want to go with? So I'd like to conclude these reflections with all of you, and thank you for having me once again.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Trudel, for sharing your experience and insights with us. And after all, I think what these 10 reflections are indicating is you have to remember you are a monk, you're a nun, you're a bhikkhu. No matter where you go, though you go to beach or shopping mall or travel to different cities, we have to be mindful for the fact that you're a monk, and people look up to you. And if you do or behave like the laity, then you're no longer looking like a monk. Maybe you're a monk by outer appearance, just for the sake of being a monk, a namesake, but in reality you're not a monk anymore. So I think these 10 reflections are reinforcing us. Remember, you have to be a monk, not just externally, also internally through these reflections. So I think it's a very powerful reflection. Thank you. Then we have Bhante Jinananda joining from this time from Washington, D.C. Bhante Jinananda, what are your reflections? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Thank you, Bhante. My reflection on this very reflective discourse is such that this is one of the discourses we came to know from the very early stages of our monastic life.
Yeah.
I remember how my teacher started training me with the Dharma, and he asked me to remember this discourse if you want to become a good monk. Not thinking about the meaning, I memorize it, and now later on I realize how good this Dhamma discourse, despite the length of it, because it maps how monks should be. Actually, this is the Theravada contribution for each of us to regulate our monastic life. This doesn't give us so much implication of the Dharma, but it is giving us the directions to understand the Dharma and Vinaya. I like some of the contributions made by previous monks. There were highlights. This is actually showing us that one factor of this 10 is enough for us to go to the other factors and make our monastic life very meaningful. So one of the duties we have is to provide some examples for a lay community. It is one of the aspects of our monastic life. In order for us to have that kind of life, we should have a mechanism to work on individually. And this is the mechanism the Buddha offered us. So when the Buddha speak about the Dhamma, he was very direct to those genius people, and he would be talking about the noble deep Dhamma, like Uggaditanya and Vipaditanya. So, but majority of monks and the people who enter into the order are Añño, which means they need a lot of trainings to be in the training, so that this kind of instruction were very helpful at the time of the Buddha, in the later period, even today, for them to find out true monasticism. So that I think without this, we cannot be really ordained monk. It is easier for one to shave off the heads and beards and take a yellow robe, but it is not showing us a true monk. And this reflection, or paccavekkhana, or yoniso manasikara, as you said, is giving us the clue what a monk should be. I think in Sotapatthipala Samyutta, we can see that each the followers of the Buddha should have a vision, that is to be either crossing over mundane lifestyle and enter into Sappurisa Bhumi, and then make sure that you are on the right path. So this kind of reflection gives us that kind of very firm life in the training. I like what Venerable Tudao said, that this is actually connecting us to the Dharma and Vinaya together. Though we talk about Dharma too much every week based on different suttas with scholastic view, it doesn't happen to us unless we stick to Vinaya. So Vinaya is the spirit of the sasana, as the Buddha said. So so that we need to remember ourselves that we are monks, and we should I really like the point 8, how do I spend my nights and days. So in that I can think that I am a monk, which is different from other lay people. It doesn't mean that you should have attukkansana paravamana, you should elevate yourself as a superior and others are not. That is not what it means. I am totally different person from physically as well as mentally, so that I spend my day and night in such a way that I practice my sila, I practice my samma sankappa. When you say ākappo karaṇīyo'ti, you should have the thought of renunciation, compassion and kindness at all in your behavior, so that if you plan your day from the morning to the end of the day with those practices, I think that make us true monks. Otherwise, it is impossible for us to stick to the right Dhamma. We may be doing social services, we may be doing other activities in a certain way, accumulating merits and also helping others. But being a monk is far beyond that, according to the Buddha's teaching, because in many discourses, Buddha has given specific instruction for us to speed up our journey, to be a very true monk, and that's what the Buddha said. I think this discourse enough for anyone to make the life very meaningful. And there are many other implications, but I don't think I should take a lot of time to say everything. But just hang on to one thing, and then everything comes together. And when we come to lay people, actually, we should open up their mind to absorb this teaching. This is not only for monks. Some facts here in the discourse can be really and meaningfully applied by any one of you, because they are talking about the truth. They are talking about the way to hang on to the teaching. So please take this discourse into your consideration, because it is called Yoniso Manasikara. With Yoniso Manasikara, you have Kalyanamita. Of course, pardon me taking some 2 minutes. When I say that my life depends on others, it doesn't mean that I necessarily talk about the food I eat, the clothes I receive from lay people, but it's really meaning that I should have a Kalyanamita in close association. I cannot live alone in this life as a layperson as well as a monk. I should be supported by like-minded, advanced friends for me to go forward. So when you think that you are not alone and I should have support from others, you become humble, you become genuine, and you are going to get something very meaningful. So I think this discourse is really opening our mind to rethink about our practice and as well as Vinaya. Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante Jinananda, for bringing another interesting point. And I think, of course, when we have Kalyanamitas, good friends, of course, there's a possibility we are not enlightened yet. There's a possibility of derailing from our own original practice. But if we have a Kalyanamita, he would remind us, or she would remind us, I think you have derailed from the practice. Now be mindful. And I remember when I came to Canada in 1994 as a typical young monk, and in Sri Lanka, of course, we were given a very strict monastic training. We were not allowed to do a lot of things. So after coming to this country, of course, we realized, even our teachers realized, these are the countries full of freedom. You have freedom to do anything. So one day, I remember doing evening chanting and meditation with Bhante Mudita. He is our teacher, or most of our teachers. So he, after the evening chanting meditation, I paid respect to him, and he said, "Saranapala, I need to talk to you." I said, okay, Bhante. And he said, "Look, this is a country, you have full freedom. There's no one who's going to control you. You have freedom to go out, you have freedom to talk to anybody. But wherever you go, although you go to school, though you go to university, though you talk to all kinds of people, always remember, you are a Buddhist monk." That's it. Whatever he said that day, it got stuck in my mind. And of course, I have been schooling for 13 years full-time at different universities, being in that enriching environment and walking on the streets and hang around with all these amazing people. There are a lot of distractions, a lot of exciting things. There are friends, classmates who were forcing me to go to pubs, to try to socialize like them. But I had to remind myself, of course, I would go to socialize a bit, but I always keep in my mind, I'm a Buddhist monk. I can't be like these people. If I behave like them, I'm not going to be a monk anymore. So that is a powerful reflection. I think we need a Kalyanamitta to remind us. So I would like to actually hear something from Venerable Kamalasiri and also Venerable Pesalatero. Kamasrahamduru, Bante Kamalasiri. I know we were studying together. We had a lot of memories and experiences. And during our training days, we were also chanting this sutta daily. So, Bante Kamalasiri, I really would like to hear something from you.
Yes, but the Sanapala mentioned about the early life, and I think both of us for the first time, our explanation got from the Bante Ampiti Rahul.
Yeah,
He's the one who always was talking about this sutra.
yeah.
Otherwise, he's the one who recommend for the morning and evening chanting. In the evening, morning and evening chanting also to do chant this one. That is, I was thinking about that. And here, mostly today we pay our attention to first one, not the other thing. So I also like to add little bit to that. Here Vevaṇṇiyamhi ajjhūpagato'ti means it has translated into English as I am now changed into a different mode. Then what is this meaning, that change into? If we change into something, that is, meaning of that is we were somewhere, or we were as something. I think that is the best way. We were as something. Then what is that? And which type of changes happen here? I like to say within a few ways here is one. The first one is, I think it is cultural change. Yeah, cultural change or social system change. Second one is lifestyle change. And third one is attitude change. And fourth one, mindset change. I think those are the things we have changed. And I don't know, that it is like a reform. Reform into someone, or change it to convert it to something. And again, the Bante Sarapala mentioned about that, thinking about as a monk. I think Arahant Mahinda also, at the first time when he arrived to Sri Lanka, he also says, Samanamayan Maharaja, Dhammaraja Sasavaka. We are Sramanas and a disciple of Buddha. And he didn't say, I am the son of Emperor Asoka.
Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't say that. He said just, we are Sramanas and disciples of the Buddha. I think that is that is the way how applied the first one. I think that is the thing I wanted to add.
Yeah,
Thank you for your opportunity to
no, but Bante Kamalasiri, yeah, actually have brought a lot of significant aspect to this discussion. I really loved how you summarized all the teachings, 10 reflections into 4 steps: cultural change, lifestyle change, attitude change, mindset change. And this is in line with another sutra from the Majjhima Nikaya, is Kukkuravattika Sutta, where Buddha is talking 4 things: Vata, Sila, Ākappo, Citta, right? And so, and if we can be mindful of this, behavior, habit, attitude, and mindset, mentality, then we will be in the safe side. And if we don't do these reflections daily, there is a possibility of slowly sliding into the wrong side, I guess, right? So thank you, Bhante Kamalasiri, for bringing up this. Now, of course, I also want to go to Venerable Pesala, but Bhante Ananda raised his hand to share more experience. Venerable Ananda.
But I could wait for Venerable Pesala.
Okay, Venerable Pesala Thero from Sri Lanka. I know you also have a good understanding of the sutras. Please share your experience of this sutra with us.
Bhante, my homage to all the sanghas here. I hope you could hear me, Bhante.
Yes, very clearly.
Bhante, as usual, this is also a very valuable sutta, as Venerable Theros discussed. Bhante, there are 2 different names. Like in Chatta Sanghayana Tripitaka, it is mentioned as Pabbajita-abhiṇha-paccavekkhaṇa-pāṭhaṃ. And in the Pabbajita Tripitaka, the Sri Lankan version, it is said it is Dasa Dhamma Sutta. So I mentioned that because if someone wants to find factors, this difference, he can, verify it. And also, Bhante, I have actually nothing to add because our venerable monks already mentioned lots of good, valuable teachings. The first one is known as, Bhante, the Vevaṇṇiyamhi. Vevaṇṇiyamhi means Vanna means the vividfulness or the colorfulness. But as monks, we have Vevaṇṇiyamhi discolored, and we don't have a recognized color. If the color of this robe, if someone asks which color is this robe, this color hasn't to be belongs to a particular color. That means if this robe is belongs to a red color, then someone called me as a red colored monk. So that is why this color is not belongs to a particular color. So then that means that we are not belongs to any kind of a group. I mean, any kind of religion, any kind of a caste or something. That we belong to the humanity. And though as a monks, we should serve for everyone. And Bhante, this term Vivaṇṇa Bhava is explained in commentaries further. Very beautiful 2 factors are there. The first one is Sarira Vevaṇṇiyamhi. Sarira Vevaṇṇiyamhi means, from our bodily appearance, we are different than the lay people. And that is, we wear the robe. And as a layman, suppose we have lots of dressings. Yesterday, maybe suppose if I wear a red one, so it is shameful to wear the same dress today. But as monks, we don't have that problem. We have always the same color robe. We don't need to think about much dresses. We have only the robe. So that is the benefit that we are getting. And also we have to, if you have the long hair, we have to maintain that. I mean, we have to comb the hair and we have to beautifully arrange that. But since we have shaved, we don't have to think on that. So that is comfortable actually. And also that is called the Sarira Vevaṇṇiyamhi. And the second one is the Parikkara Vevaṇṇiyamhi. Parikkara Vevaṇṇiyamhi means the requisite that we are using. Especially that now, when I was in my lay life, I was always troubling to my mother. When she was cooking, she was giving different types of food, and some foods were there I didn't like. So I complained to my mom. But now as a monk, when I take my bowl and go into the village and people offer lots of different types of food and it's complete mix of food. I cannot choose the one so altogether I have to eat without any distinctions. I mean, so I don't need to think about the variations of the food. Whatever the available food, I have to depend. So I have I don't need to think about the food that I need this type of food. So I don't need to worry about it. Whatever the things that I get, so I can I can depend on that. Maybe all the monks and the lay people also have heard the advice that has given by the Buddha to Vishaka Upasika, the chief female patronizer of the Buddha, Vishaka. And there the Buddha said, if you have 100 things, we have 100 worries. If you have 10 things, we have 10 worries. And if you have 5 things, we have 5 worries. And if you have, like I said, 4, if you have 4 worries, 3, and 2. And if you have 1 thing, we have to worry about 1. And if you have nothing, we have to worry about nothing. That's the thing. So these practices, physically, we are keeping away from the lots of things. So that will be, as Venerable one of the Thera said, Sankapparāgo Purisassa Kāma. Actually, the sole purpose is to cleanse our mind. From our mind, we build the world. But, without clearing our physical behavior, we cannot touch the mind. That is these factors are dealing with our external factors, external behavior, external things. So, when we want to touch the core of the tree, first we must remove the bark, then the inner side, then only we can touch the core of the tree. So as monks, if you need to touch the deep, core of the Dhamma, these are the factors of the as we discussed in last day also, Bhante, these are belongs to the Sila. And Sila means our ethical conduct, moral conduct. Why we practice Sila for the Avippatisara. Avippatisara means that if you are following these principles, we could satisfy that. Vippatisara means suppose if I earn some kind of money, and if I know that the money that I have earned is after very good manner, without owing to anyone. So if I very justifiably, if I earn something, I feel much satisfied because I have owed nothing to anyone. So likewise, similarly, if we as a monk, if we practice these factors and we know that we follow these and we got that avippatisara bhava, and our physical behavior is like the monks. So it gives us the samadhi. It is a passage for the samadhi. And also, Bhante, the concepts that we are dealing with, always we think this is I, me, and myself. All things belongs to me. Like those concepts are, deposited in our mind. That is because during our long journey of samsara, we have keep repeatedly thinking, this is me, this is mine, this is so as Bhante, one of Bhante said, as Anusodagami, we have thinking in that way. This is me, this is mine, and those are my friends, likewise. So if you want to become Patisodagami, then we have to always repeatedly think as a monk. In the third factor, it is said the Parapaṭibaddhā me jīvikā'ti. So this life is belongs not for us. This is belongs to the people who have offered us the 4 requisites. So without them, we cannot depend. We cannot go on. So if we practice these things, then it will easy for us to eradicate the feeling of the concept of me, mine, and myself. And one of said the last one, if someone asked in our life, at any time, or at the end of our life, if someone asks, what have you achieved through this monkhood? Then Bhante, someone can complain that why most people are asking that question. During this young time, why you become a monk? Why don't you have any purposes in your life? So Bhante, even someone used to addict to drugs. Why he is doing drugs? Because he's find some kind of satisfaction. Actually, it not gives him continuously continuous satisfaction. Temporary satisfaction is there, but this Dhamma gives us the eternal satisfaction. They also find satisfaction. We also find some kind of satisfaction, but the way is a little bit different. It is not like the world, how the world is doing. So likewise, the 10 factors, that is the most valuable aim, most valuable satisfaction that one can achieve. So as monks, we have a noble purpose, and this Dhamma is known as Sandiptika mean, and Sandiptika mean we could see the results not tomorrow, not in the next life, but just now in this moment we could see the result. And so that Nibbana, that the cessation and the calmness of the mind, the happiness of the mind, we can achieve in this moment itself. So by reflecting on
it is also like if we you actually, Venerable Spacelo, you have brought up a lot of interesting spiritual points that keep us in the right direction, and especially the biggest problem that people have, I think maybe the majority of the monks and nuns who have derailed from the practice, at the end of life they suffer big from this guilt. So if we can continue to keep these teachings in mind, and at the end we are not going to suffer from guilt. So this is very interesting. Thank you so much for bringing up those teachings. And lastly, Venerable Ananda, please, we have 2 more minutes. Please feel free to share your experience.
Sure, Bhante. It actually popped up when you mentioned about your initial time as a novice monk in Canada. Just very briefly, Bhante, I happened to, first time I went abroad on my own after being a novice monk was to the Philippines. So from Sri Lanka up to Malaysia, you are treated as a Buddhist monk, but from Malaysia up to Philippines, you are no more a Buddhist monk because people don't know you at all. And when I landed that country, like in Canada, you find the Sri Lankan community, so you are being recognized somewhat as a monk, but there was absolutely no one. So you are ended up with a lot of freedom. And like Bhante Tridao mentioned, that you become sort of a public profile when you wear this, because you are definitely a weird, there's a weird costume to many people that you don't know. And you are under a lot of scrutiny. So I think it serves 2 purposes, one external and one internal, especially. Parapaṭibaddhā me jīvikā'ti, like external world is looking at you in a way. And I remember going to a party. It was actually a gathering which happened at an embassy. It was an embassy event, and I went with the family that who hosted me in the Philippines. So there were people, and then I introduced myself as a monk. I was wearing the robe, but they were saying they didn't know what Buddhism is. Like most of them, they didn't know what Buddhism is, so who are monks. And they gave me a drink, like, why don't you have a shot of whiskey or vodka? So I refused that. It's our practice that we don't drink alcohol. That's not our style. But they were continuously pressuring me. No one is there to check up on you. There's no teacher, so you feel free to have a sip. I said, no, I'm really fine. I do not have the need. I will just be satisfied with a glass of cucumber water. But then towards the end of that session, I found that many people were really impressed why a young person is not enjoying his drink with a drink. What are you being entertained with? How are you enjoying life? So then we started discussing Dhamma. So there was a moment that most of the people were sitting, forgetting the music played over there, and then sitting sitting and listening to Dhamma. So it was a fantastic experience. And like Bhante Kusala said, like when you touch your hair, when you see the rope, it's definitely an internal reminder. Like the drug addicts, when they fall into the addiction again, there's always a trigger point. So for monks, to remember our course, I think wearing this, just seeing this yellow color or touching your head is a fantastic reminder. That's what I wanted to mention.
Yeah, no, thank you, Venerable Ananda, for sharing those stories. We also had the same experience when I went to Corsica for the first time. And even I was warned that, there's a typical Christian island and people are not up to this. They might give you some negative reactions to your presence here in the island. So then, I took the risk. I went there anyways. So all I did was, I remember flying from Paris to that city, Ajaccio in Corsica. I was the only monk. I was the only colored person there. And before the plane was taking off, the flight attendants made an announcement. They said, "Hey guys, don't worry. Today we have a Buddhist monk on board, so we are safe." Everybody started looking at me. They were clapping like this. So that is the power of being different, as a Buddhist monk. So I think what I see from these reflections have the power to empower yourself. But if we derail from these practices, we lose the power as monks in a way. So these daily reflections help us empower ourselves towards our goal. So I'm very grateful to all of you for sharing your experience, your stories with us, with our audience. And this is very inspiring. So I would like to invite Venerable Sarnapala Thero from Vancouver to recite the over the Patimokka verses to wind this up today.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa sabba papassa akaraṇaṃ kusalatsa upasampada sacitta pariyodapanaṃ etaṃ Buddhāna sāsanam Kanti paramang tapo titikka Nibbanang paramang vadanti buddha Nahi pabbajito-parupagati samano hoti paraṃ vihetayanto anupavado anupagato patimokka Khecha sangvaru Mattaññutaca bhattasmin Pantañca sayanasanam Adhicitteca ayogo Etaṃ Buddhāna sāsanam.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Venerable Sarnapala Thero, you have beautifully recited this over the Patimokka verses. Thank you so much. It's very soothing, so relaxing. Once again, I'm very grateful to all of you for coming together to discuss the precious Dhamma taught by the Buddha for our own spiritual benefits and also for the benefits of the lay people. And this is such a unique service we all are doing together. So I'm wishing you nothing but health and safety. May you have all the blessings of the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha, and the blessings of the Devas, celestial beings. May Devas continue to protect and guard you with the divine blessings for your health and safety. And may all of you continue to be blessed with physical happiness, physical well-being, and emotional well-being. May all blessings be with you, be with our lay people who join us today. And sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta. May all sentient beings be well, happy, and peaceful. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all in 2 weeks' time. Until then, be well, and good night from Canada. Thank you so much.